around technologies. So we've been in the sector right when the sector started. So 2011 is when the first IPP started coming. At that point it was largely wind. Right? So we've been in the wind space for, we built around 800 megawatts in the first platform. That was in Orange Street in 2018. We worked with the top guys, which was Suzlon, Gamesa at that point. Solar started, I think it was very, very expensive in the initial few years, right? So it was at around 12 to 14 rupees. And then it came down below 2000 to around 3 rupees by 2018, 2019. I think what we've tried to do in terms of maintaining an edge on technology, one is the quality that we maintain and the type of OEMs that we work with. So on the turbine side, we are only working today with Suzlon and Envision. These are two top manufacturers of turbines in India. They largely control 40% each in terms of production. I think similarly on the module side, right? Before ALMM kicked in, where we had to buy from domestic guys, we were only working with Longi, Trina, and J. These are three biggest solar manufacturers, solar module manufacturers in the world. Subsequently, once ALMM has kicked in, of course there is a big overcapacity today. There are a lot of guys who are there on the module manufacturing side. What we have largely done, and again, this is to manage risk and quality, largely working with the 3 or 4 top guys that are there in Vivari, MD, Premier. On the battery side, again, we've been early movers. I think what we've done a little differently from others, especially in India, is so if you look at globally, what has happened on the battery side, largely IPPs work with integrators who provide a full solution, which is the battery coming in along with the TCS and the EMS. In India, it has happened a little differently where everything is being procured separately. Now, what we have done is going the global way. So we have now contracted almost more than 4.5 gigawatt hours of battery to Envision, and wherein they provide the entire solution to us. They bring it to site, we install it, and they then commission it. And then what we do is we give a comprehensive O&M contract for the entire life of it. With that, the technology is more reliable, and that's how we are able to have a step up on the technology. In terms of the second question, this is regarding CAPEX and other. I think the first, I think the most important thing, right, especially given how the power sector is, it is highly CAPEX intensive, there is a lot of debt, and we understand that. So what we have done is we always, I think the first step to it is you bid responsibly. So we have never bidded for projects, for solar projects which have gone down, say tariffs in between had gone below 2 rupees. We've seen not a lot of projects actually come. We have the ability to stay away if required during certain periods if projects don't make sense. I think that is the first thing where we secure the CAPEX and the debt to be sustainable. The second, of course, is in terms of how when we take debt, all our debt is long term. Right? So all our debt is tied to the project. It is evaluated by the lenders. So most of our debt is 18 to 20 years long. Right? As we mentioned earlier, once we commission our project, there is hardly any risk to the project because project cash flow, because it's a fixed tariff contract for 25 years, which is fully evaluated. In terms of, again, I think the interest rate risk, I think largely where we are sitting today, what we have done, so our interest rates today on the operational projects sit at around 8.37. And if you look at somewhere around 2021-22, right across these 4 years, our numbers have almost remained similar. We were able to do a fixed tariff for 3 years when the interest rates were going up. And that's how we were able to maintain the interest rate at this level. And I think we continue to then diversify in terms of various lenders to get the best cost of debt.
Hello. Yeah. How does Juniper Green Energy justify its valuation benchmark against massive peers like NTPC Green Energy and Adani Green Energy?
So I think the bankers will take that question.
Hello. See, in terms of the valuation, as we said, we have considered the markets, we have considered everything which is going around, the macros are not today. So what we have done is, we have interacted with the top, we'll say 50 investors and arrived at a valuation where there is long-term interest in the stock, and that's where we are. More on, rather than going more on relative what's happening with the competitors, we have been looked at Juniper and interacted with the investors and said.
How does the company plan to manage execution risk for its massive under construction and awarded project pipeline?
So in terms of managing risk, right, so I think the most important part in any execution of any renewable project is the development part. Right? So land acquisition and grid connection are the two biggest risks there. In terms of, so where we have a benefit is, so today we have grid connection for our entire capacity. So this is under construction awarded as well as under construction contracted capacity. So grid connection is not a problem. So we have grid connection for everything. In terms of land acquisition, again, I think what we do is we have developed our projects much earlier, and that's why we've been able to commission these projects ahead of time. So today, we talk about capacities that will come in, say, by 2027, we would have mostly all of the land. So projects which are coming up in, say, 2028, we will have 60 to 70% of them. I think first is in terms of moving on land and grid connections. On the EPC side, again, so there is, one is on the major equipment, which is turbines, modules and batteries. I think on the turbine side, as we mentioned, we have long-term contracts with Suzlon and Vision that handles the equipment part on that side. We also have comprehensive 25-year O&M contracts with these OEMs, which manage the O&M for the entire life of the project. On the module side, again, we are working with the top 3 and 4 guys. I think we'll benefit from the overcapacity that is there on the modules, especially with domestic module capacities reaching around 160 to 180 gigawatts now, and the requirement of the module capacity being around only 40 to 50 gigawatts. We'll be actually beneficiaries of the prices that we'll get on the module side. On the batteries, we have again, I think how we have tied it up. We're working with Envision. We're also talking to CADL, which is the world's largest battery manufacturer. We again want to work with the top guys in the battery manufacturing space, but have a long-term contract. I think once we close this, then we have enough EPC capability in-house to manage the other risks. Those are not very, very simple. And that's the plan on execution.
Thank you, sir.
What is the typical life cycle of a turbine and the batteries?
And in terms of execution or work?
The life.
Okay. So the life of a battery depends upon the number of cycles that it runs. So generally, it is today when we have contracted for a dual cycle, it's 15 years. For a single cycle, it's 20 years. So post the battery getting commissioned, it will run for 20 years. We already have a long-term service agreement along with a comprehensive O&M contract with the OEM, which manages the entire batteries along with the warranties. Right? So if anything goes wrong tomorrow, right, they are responsible for it. These guys have done more than 50 gigawatt hours of battery globally. So they are big enough, right? So whenever we give out contracts, right, apart from just giving a contract, it's very, very essential on the other side that who is the counterpart. So when we give out a 25-year contract, I don't want to give a 25-year contract to a smaller guy. He may not be there later on. That's why we work with the top guys who have done it substantially all across the world. On the turbine side, so the life, again, varies between, I think the design life is generally 25 years, but you get a 30-year, in terms of when you do a study, you can go up to 30 to 35 years. So again, I think there again, what we do on the turbine side, as you mentioned, when we sign up on the turbine with the OEMs, it is pretty unique to us, and there is probably only one other French IPP which does it in India, where we have a 25-year O&M contract with them. It's fully comprehensive. It covers everything. They give us an availability warranty for the next 25 years.
Can you throw some color on the
hydrogen, it is something which will be of interest, right, in the coming future. One is especially around energy security, but I think it's still it is still something which is in its nascent phase. It still requires a lot of subsidy from the government to get it to a cost so that it matches the grey hydrogen cost. I think initially the green hydrogen landscape has come in, especially keeping it as something which will go for exports. Right? Initially for Europe, now for Japan and South Korea. For India, we believe, and India being a very, very price sensitive market, it is still something which is slightly higher than what a grey hydrogen would be. But I think in the near future, its cost will come down. The major cost is renewables, right? So as more the renewables come down, the cost will further come down, and probably will be more competitive in the coming future.
Hello. What measures are to be taken in the company to improve profitability by expanding to capacity?
Right. As we mentioned, companies in the exponential growth phase. Our capacity has already doubled in last 15 months. It was 1174 megawatt peak, which has now increased to 2400 megawatt peak. In fact, in last 3 months, we have added capacity of 600 megawatt peak, which is equivalent to last year capacity. So, as we have mentioned already, when the company which is at this growth stage, the profit or P ratio is not a meaningful criteria to see, because what we are building today, our revenue will come. As we have already highlighted, we have 98% of our capacity is tied up under long-term PPA. Once we are commissioning this facility, the revenue will flow for next 25 years. We have, as on date today, total portfolio of 10 gigawatt. So, as I think the best way to assess these companies are the revenue growth and the EBITDA growth. As I have already highlighted, our revenue and EBITDA is growing more than 40%. As we will have the more commissioning, the revenue will come, and this will show the path for the company.
Hello, how are you? So over 80% of
currently non-public information. So you will not see the angle.
Sir, what according to you? What according to you are the best reasons for investors to invest in Juniper green energy?
I think one of the major reasons is growth, right? What you will see with us, as we mentioned earlier, we're not the largest right now, but we were at around 1.2, grown to 2.4. And if you look at the division of this 2.4, we were 1800 in March, taken that number up to 2400. So there will be significant growth in this company. And the other benefit that you will see is we have the agility to move much faster than others. We have a small company mindset where we can move on newer technologies. So to give you an example on FDRE. So FDRE is a very recent advance. This happened in, I think the first bids happened in 2023. We won our first tender in September of 2023. And there were a lot of players who won that tender. We have been able to commission that project well ahead of anyone else in that. So what you will get from us is performance. I think we're very, apart from other stuff, right, our basic clue is to execute projects, right? So execute projects within cost and before. So you will get that. I'm very sure that you will, and you will appreciate that in the coming future. So that's where I think that's one of the major reasons that we should look at investing.
So I just want to add that as we have presented, this sector is growing. The renewable energy sector is at the inflection point. So the sector is growing fast, and as a company, we are growing even faster. So we believe this sector is the future, and there we are outpacing the growth of the sector.
Hello. So So as a green energy, is company doing something?
We believe that renewable energy has emerged as the cheapest source of energy. So renewable energy in context of our nation where we have a low price sensitive offtake is not just green and help the environment big time because of the emissions obviously. Otherwise the next route for us would be coal. And coal is the most polluting fossil fuel out there. If you look at the next, if you look at between coal and renewable, you would probably put natural gas. But the problem with natural gas is that we import most of natural gas. And natural gas uncertainty has been proved with what you see happening in Strait of Hormuz and with the Russia-Ukraine war. So it helps us, as a nation, it helps us in every direction. Keeps the environment clean. Once you install the capacity, you have drop independence from the point of operating these capacities, right? It does remove, the supply chain risks which you mentioned. So it works in reality for him.
And how are you leveraging AI in your workflows and
There's a lot of, as I just explained about storage. Storage is going to play a very important role going forward, especially the fact that if you really look at storage, you have a battery that constantly interacts with the generating capacity, which in this case would be either solar panel or a wind turbine. And both are intermittent from the point of view that the source of energy is intermittent. Over a period of time, how does the data interact with the battery? And later on understands what the needs of the grid are going to be going forward. That integration is going to play a very important role. So AI and data is going to sit at the core of that. It's developing. The definition of AI can be very broad, but we do see that being able to use the data that comes from all different sources, be it on the consumption side or on the generation side over a period of time, is going to play a very significant role in stabilizing and making energy less intermittent.
Sir, I'm Mehul Dani from FinTech Biz News. How do you manage payment delays by state discounts? And considering the sectorial growth prospects, what is the headroom for your company going forward to enhance your market share? Thanks.
So I'll take the first question and I think on the second question for us. I think on the payment delays, again, we've been asked this question by a lot of investors, and I think a lot of investors who were there in 2010, 2015 in the past. I just wanted to clarify a lot of things have changed. We have a 22-day payment period, largely working with two state discoms, which is Gujarat, Maharashtra. Gujarat is of course the top discom in the country, and Maharashtra probably the second best. We try to control in terms of the discom that we go through. But I think in terms of the sector, if you look at what has happened in the sector, right, the government has taken a lot of steps. Right? So today, if you look at any utility, so be it renewables or the thermal guys, the payments from all discoms are in line. So if you look at largely, and again, I think just one point that we mentioned to everyone. Right? So there is a lot of news that comes in on articles that there is a 1.6 lakh or 70,000 crores of payment dues from state discoms to generators. I think essentially what you then need to look at is only the first that comes in. So there is 35,000 crores which is not even due. There is 30,000 crores which is between a period of 30 to 60 days. There is hardly 200 crores or 300 crores of payments which are overdue. So essentially that risk around payment delays from state discoms is largely now over. So look at any utility for that matter right now, you will see that risk largely does not remain. Having said that, we still remain with the top discoms in the country, which is Gujarat, Maharashtra, then Tata Power Discom, and then a major chunk is with the central guys, which is NTPC, NHPC, SJP.
Yeah. So just to add, having said that, our average receivable period as on date is 21 days, which is one of the best in the industry. As per our PPA, receivable period is 30 days. So today we are realizing most of our payments even before the period. So that speaks, how the sector has reformed.
And the most important thing is the reform which the government did, wherein any discom that doesn't pay its bills within 75 days is excluded from the exchange. And most of these discoms do need to go to the exchange for their energy needs. And if you don't pay, you don't get access to that energy, which has made sure that discoms get more disciplined and improve the efficiency either on the collection side or on the losses and transmission and so on and so forth. So I think that reform has played a very important role. Today, you can't have people without energy. We saw recently when we had power, when the heat was up, we saw people all over the country from the family coming out looking for, asking why there's load shedding happening. So the country has changed, and in line with that, the fact that government brought that one policy has helped every discount. We have every discount paying within 75 days.
Quick questions from journalists who have joined us online. This one is to the CEO Ankush. Is your product portfolio is it plain vanilla or is it hybrid? Can you give us a sense?
I think in that screen, I think I've already explained. So the majority of our portfolio is actually hybrids and FDRs. Right? This is more complex RE where we provide power on demand. So it's firm dispatch. Only 15 to 17% of our portfolio is plain vanilla wind and solar, and that's where we believe we have additional margin. Right? So our average tariff is higher, which is at around 3.64. So it's primarily on the hybrids and the FDRs, and we believe going forward there would hardly be any plain vanilla solar. It will largely go with a combination of solar plus wind plus battery, and that's where our entire focus is.
Second question to the CFO, Parag Agrawal. Can you explain the net debt to equity ratios and what kind of project returns do you see in the next few years?
So right, so as we have already disclosed in the prospectus, our net debt to equity is 2.75 as on 31st March. We have equity of around 3,400 crore in the business and net debt of 9,400 crore. As we have not give any forward-looking statement on the return, but as Ankush has already mentioned, we are one of the players whose focus is in the WSH and FDI, which is a niche segment, and we are realizing higher tariff than the market. Our average tariff is one of the highest in that. That itself gives us the enough room and good market.
Yeah, last question from Swaraj from Money Control.
Hi, Swaraj here from Money Control. There are certain allegations by a former CEO, including charges of bribery, which you have also disclosed, and you're also undergoing an arbitration process. So, how do you address this, corporate governance red flags for incoming investors? How should they view this as, as just 1 year before your IPO, there have been some major allegations. So, could you address that? Thank you.
So, as far as the you mentioned two questions. As far as the arbitration is concerned, obviously it's sub judice, so there's not much we can say. We haven't taken a provision as of now. That's number one. Number two, as far as the charges are concerned, what we did as a company, from the corporate governance point of view, we have an independent law firm, including auditors, that reviewed the whole thing, and that was disclosed as part of our. Because SEBI this was raised by SEBI, and the response that we sent to the SEBI was sent to the CEO as well, the CEO as well, in case he had anything else to say about it, and that's how we addressed those, which were completely unfound charges, and I mentioned on arbitration, it's under arbitration right now.
With this, I'd like to invite Mr. Amitabh Malhotra, Vice Chairman, Capital Markets and Advisory India, HSBC Securities and Capital Markets Private Limited, to make the closing remarks.